And I can remember a word that somebody gave to us once who was traveling through the community. I don't think that person realized how much of a word it was for us at the time. But what that person said was, most charismatic groups go under because of problems in personal relationships. They don't go under because the Lord stops working. They go under, or they dissipate, because the problems human beings have in relating to one another. And it was when we began to hear that and think about that, that the Lord began to be able to work among us in the right way, to put our focus in what Paul calls the aim of the Christian life. And that aim is love. He says in 1 Corinthians 14, make love your aim and earnestly desire the spiritual gifts. He wants us to earnestly desire the spiritual gifts. But even more, he wants love to be our aim. And it wasn't until we made some very specific changes. For me, the change was a very, very concrete one. I had to give up a particular resentment. It was a very difficult thing for me to do. But I remember very clearly feeling the Lord's finger upon me, and the Lord saying, until you give up that resentment, my power can't work in this situation the way it's supposed to. The battle isn't out there somewhere. The battle is in your heart. And your heart has to give up holding on to that particular resentment. And each one of us has to make changes like that. And it's not until we do that the Lord can really work the way he wants to. Now, when we first come into the charismatic renewal, we have an agenda usually. We hear about all the great things the Lord's doing. We hear about the great spiritual experiences people have. We hear about prophets and teachers and healers and all those wonderful works of God. And what we usually want to do, if we could really get it out, when we come to the Lord to get prayed over, usually what we have in mind is, Lord, when am I going to have a vision of you? How soon am I going to be a great prophet? When am I going to pray over that lame person who's going to be healed? Now, I believe the Lord wants lots of us to have visions of him and great spiritual experiences. And the church certainly needs more prophets and teachers and apostles and great works of power. But what I've discovered is that God's agenda usually isn't our agenda. We're saying there, Lord, I want that vision. I want to be made a great prophet. And the Lord's waiting for us to quiet down so he can say, I'd like to talk to you about how you're relating with your wife. I really would like to bring up that problem of irritability you have. I'm very, very interested in discussing how come you're so depressed that you can't really love your brothers and sisters the way I want you to. That's usually the Lord's agenda first. Something I think I've seen, and I think a lot of others of us have seen, is that the Lord's raised up a lot of people with great charismatic gifts that are dangerous to the Lord's work. It may sound funny, but that's really true.